Welcome to the Direct Admission Podcast, where we talk about all the options that you have in and outside of nursing. So if you love hearing about different type of specialties, businesses, side hustles, and different types of nursing, this is going to be the podcast for you. And let's go. So today we have Candice Brown, a retired nurse that left the bedside to pursue her entrepreneurial spirit and financial consulting business. So Candice, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's start from the beginning, like how you got into nursing?
Yeah, sure. So long story short, my mom passed away when I was 6 years old. So nursing was always something that I wanted to do. I always wanted to been the type of person that wanted to help people. And I always wanted to make sure that in the case of an emergency, my family would know what to do. So that triggered my fuel for wanting to be a doctor. First, I wanted to be a doctor. Then I wanted to go to school to be a nurse. That's kind of how I got started with nursing. I worked in all the different hospitals in the Philadelphia area. So a few different ones, CHOP, Penn, like all the different hospitals in the area. Did some travel nursing for a little bit. So fun times, definitely fun times. But I always wanted to own my own business. And I've always been the type of person that always kept my options open to making extra money. Like I knew that nursing degree was a way to be able to free my family. But at the same time, I have children. So I wanted to make sure I have something that I can pass down to them and give them ownership over something too. So
yeah, that's huge. So let's go into that. So the extra money, obviously, nursing is kind of weird with how much we're paid depending on the state and what you're doing in the profession. So is that why you first went into travel nursing, to get paid more?
Absolutely. During the pandemic, listen, nurses, that was a different life back then. And I really feel like if the one thing that the pandemic showed everybody is that certain things need to change, especially as far as how healthcare is treated, how healthcare workers are treated, as well as how they're treating the patients that they're treating as well. So you would always hear different things between people that were staff or people that were doing travel nursing. And it's like, I get it for the stability of if you have a family or you don't like the flexibility of being able to move, but I need to do what's best for me and my family too, So, and then different states pay a little bit more, certain states pay a little bit less too. So, yeah.
So during your travel, I guess, career, did you stay local contracts, or you did more, did you travel out to any other states as well?
No, so I did local travel nursing. So definitely they have a lot of hospitals in the area, and they now have a travel team or a flex team to try and offset a little bit more of the travel nursing agencies coming in. But I stayed local. I did all of my assignments local, just went to the local hospitals in the area that I did not currently work at. And because I had the experience, I was able to move around the way I wanted to. I would have loved to go to California, but I kind of wanted to stay local just because of my family.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest thing too, is that a lot of people ask, how come you're not doing those travel contracts that are in California? It's I have a family and kids. I can't just pack up and do what all the single people are doing. That was, I wish I did, just because the money was ridiculous during that time. It could have made a huge difference in boosting you up way further ahead. And then how did you get into the financial consulting and financial service game?
Yeah. So actually one of my close friends introduced me to my coach. So we had mutual friends. They went to high school together, and me and the mutual friend met in college. So introduced, and I've always been that type of person to keep my options open. I love making money. Like you, as a nurse, you go into certain careers because you know that they're going to be rewarding at the same time that you can live off of that, so I've always been that type of person. Like, all right, what's next? Show me what I need to know. And a lot of times, another part is that financial literacy is not taught in our schools at all. Like, you get 18 and then they're like, all right, here's a credit card, here's $50K of student loan debt, buy this house, and now you got $300,000 of debt, and you don't even know, you're not even making enough to be able to pay it off. So it's just like it's setting people up for failure. And I understand the American dream and certain things like that, but we need to shift that to make sure we're making sure that we're making smart decisions with our money. So then that way we can really retire whatever age you want to retire, or travel, or whatever that looks like for that person, so.
Yeah, that's true. So when did you switch from getting out of like the bedside, getting out of nursing to do this?
So I would say 2023 was like official. I had to make a choice actually. And this is funny because it was literally like a fork in the road in my life, where it was like, choose nursing or you're gonna have to choose your business. And I chose my business. They were going to cancel my contract because I told them that I couldn't make it in due to family obligations. And they decided to cancel my contract. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take that as a sign from God. Listen, it's time to go. You've been praying, you've been asking for things. I'm giving it to you. Now this is the kick in the butt that you need to go get out there and go after it. So
how is that change helped you? Because obviously going from the stability of a nursing job, knowing that you're going to get paid every week or every bi-weekly, to entrepreneurial, where it's like, I got to really hustle to make some money.
yeah, it's definitely a mindset shift. So I would suggest anyone that's considering going out there on their own, like, of course you can't determine. A lot of times people see a job as stable, but as we see through the pandemic, even still layoffs now, like Amazon is laying off thousands of people. These businesses are closing left and right. Like, yes, a job is stable, but that still may not be always guaranteed either. So you definitely want to make sure you have multiple streams of income to protect yourself just in case if anything happens. So that was always my main thing. Making sure that was definitely in place to make sure if anything happens, I knew that something else could be able to be lined up.
And are you keeping your license alive at all? Like doing like a per diem?
Yeah, so absolutely. I keep my license active. Like, I worked hard for that degree. Like, I'm not just gonna, but at the same time, I want to grow my business in that aspect. I love nurses because those are, to be honest, that's literally my best clients. A lot of times nurses make great money, but they not necessarily know what to do with the money that they're making, what avenues to make sure that money is working for them. You want to buy an investment property, you want to have $1 million when you're ready to retire, whatever that looks like. They want to put some money into your college savings funds for your kids. Travel, you could have a travel fund just strictly that's growing in the stock market or whatever. You could do stock markets, you can do a high yield savings account, whatever that looks like for that person. But having that money still continually to work for you, and you still be able to take a trip from that fund.
It's true.
So
like, yeah, you talked about a little bit, like the zero financial literacy definitely in the healthcare is crazy. Or even just overall, just like you look around and like you said, everyone is in debt and everyone thinks that's normal, which is like the worst thing ever. Because like in your like Instagram, you want to have like generational wealth creation, and how could you do that if you're in this type of debt? So like, what services do you provide for these nurses or anyone that ends up working with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I do is I show you how to be able to eliminate your debt, how to be able to live below your means. I always tell people, pay yourself first. A lot of times when you're making a budget, I'm gonna be honest, it's boring. Like, nobody likes building financial wealth. A lot of times it may not come off as sexy or exciting, but it's gonna set you up for your future or whatever the case may be. So why not? I'm not trying to work as hard when I'm like older. I'm sorry, I'm not. Like, I'm trying to live life the way I want to live it, be able to travel and be able to pick up and change the weather whenever I want to change the weather. Like, you get what I'm saying? So that alone, having that structure is bar none. Like, making sure you're paying yourself first. If you can start investing, start investing. I usually say at least save about 10% of what you make per week, per month, bi-weekly, whatever that is. Put it aside. That's I call it the treasure chest. So instead of an emergency fund, go to $1,000. You got $1,000 saved up. So just in case an emergency, you have that money to be able to go to instead of going to those other accounts that you're using to retire on. So Definitely that. Make sure you're maxing out your retirement accounts through your employer if you can. And like I said, there's baby steps. Take your time. You don't have to do everything at once, but implement something so then that way you're not having to wait until you're 40 and 50 and like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do now? I can't retire.
How do you break that barrier for, I guess, specifically nurses, where they look at their paycheck, they probably don't contribute to their 401k or 403b, and then all of a sudden you're telling them like, this is what you have to do. Then they're like, oh, but doesn't that bring my paycheck down? Like, how do you break that barrier of being like, this is what you need to do to retire as well as budget correctly?
Right.
Like, how do you do that?
So what I really just ask them what their dreams and their goals are. So what do you want your life to look like in 5, 10, 15 years from now? Like you say you want to be able to go to Bali on a weekend. Okay, this is how much it's going to take to go to Bali on the weekend to be able to make that happen. You say you want to retire at 36. And that's a lot of things people think that your retirement is your age. The retirement is a number. How much money do you have saved and invested in order to be able to live comfortably and never have to work again? You know, so a lot of people don't realize that, but it's baby steps. Take little things, take little pieces at a time. But usually what I say to them is make sure that I understand it may be coming out of your check right now, or you say that you're having lower pay, but you know you're gonna spend that money anyway. A lot of times people don't know where they're not really tracking what their money is actually going to. So why not put a small percentage aside? That way it can grow and can compound and you can retire a millionaire. Like it doesn't have to take long, you know? So a lot of times people feel like, and that's another thing, we have to uncondition ourselves or unlearn certain things that we learned about money growing up.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of times, and it's like, I've always heard money doesn't grow on trees, but it actually does. If you plant the seeds and plant the foundation, money can actually really grow on a tree. Like, you get what I'm saying? So just unlearning certain things that we may have learned as it relations to money can also help break down that barrier as well. So
that's huge. And one big thing that I notice, even amongst like my coworkers, one topic that people need to unlearn is that a lot of people decide to spend depending on the shifts they work or the OT they work. They're like, if I need to buy that thing, that just means it's like one shift or one overtime. And then I'm back at even again. Like, I guess as like a financial consultant, how do you break that mold now? Like, how do you change that mindset? Because you shouldn't be looking at, if you want to do overtime, you got to use it better, use that money better.
Facts. And you know what, it really is a mindset shift, because the wealthy don't trade time for money. Like they value their time as their most important asset. So if you break it down to that person, like, all right, yes, that one OT shift, but that's 12 hours away from you and your kids. Or that's, you get what I'm saying? Like that's however long that shift is, taking you away from whatever else you actually wanted to do. So yes, you made that, working on that delayed gratification definitely will help, but just explain it to them just like that. Like, listen, this is going to be 8 hours of your time, 4 hours of your time. What else could you possibly be doing that could be actually something that's more rewarding to you instead of spending that money that way? Or if you're going to do it for a purpose. You're saving for a trip, by all means, go ahead, go do what you need to go do, but make sure that you're still putting some money aside and separating it so that way you have enough to be able to live off of, retire off of, or whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah, that's such a big thing that I just keep seeing being brought up. Like, how many shifts do I need to pay off this car? How many shifts do I need to go on a vacation? And for the people that don't understand investing, how do you, a lot of people think it's like gambling. That's one of the biggest things that I hear is, why would I put it in the stock market when I know I could just have it in my checkings and I know it's there?
Right.
The value will technically not change, but
and yeah, that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
That like you're leaving your money in a bank for the bank to use your money at 28, 29, 50%, and they're giving you pennies on your dollar. Why not put it in a better investment vehicle where you can do the same exact thing that the bank is doing, and then that money is going back into your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So why not? And I get it. It looks like gambling, because I know I've heard as of recently, like more people are starting to lean towards gambling than they are towards investing. And it's like, everything has its ebbs and flows. Everybody was in the Bitcoin when it first came out, and then when it shot up to 60 K, that everybody was all on another bandwagon, or when the stock market was doing whatever it's doing. But if you consistently do something called dollar cost averaging, with taking a little bit, say it's $5 every single month, you're still putting that in. That money will grow a lot faster than just leaving it sitting in a bank account. You are getting half of a penny every 3 months in your bank. Why not get your money that's getting a higher percentage, double digit percentage, versus leaving it in the bank? The bank will use your money anyway.
100%.
So yeah, so that's how I usually kind of break it down, is just making sure talking about dollar cost averaging with people. Like, it doesn't have to be a lot. If you can only save $5 per month or per week until you build it up, by all means, do what you need to go do, because once you're able to handle what you have now, you'll be able to handle a lot more in the future.
Yeah, especially like you said, you're paying yourself first. Don't look at it so often, because that's what people do. They're like, oh, the stock market went down, even though it's like in an index fund. They'll be like, my $5 is now worth $4. What am I doing here? This is gambling. I'm losing money. But they just don't understand the time horizon of it. And everyone's looking also for that get rich quick scheme, where they're like, I want to retire now, instead of putting in the work to retire early.
Right.
Earlier than 65.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying that every investment comes with a risk. When you're actually putting money on sports bets or gambling or parlaying or whatever, you're taking a risk there. You can lose all of your money doing that too. You get what I'm saying? So real estate is also a risk. The housing market, it's been doing some crazy things as of lately. It's been up for the most part, but we seen what happened in 2008. So get what I'm saying? So like, those things, yes, I get it, but you have to ride the wave. If you know that I'm 30 years old, I don't plan on retiring until 65 or whatever the case may be, okay, great. If it's someone that's an older client that's more closer to retirement, then I'm putting them more in a more stable account, because I know that they're looking towards income. They're getting ready to cash out. They're getting ready to move some things around. So it all depends on the person, and it's very personalized, but you have to know you. You have to know what you want your life to look like. Like I said, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever that looks like for that person. And then you can kind of say, all right, this is how much I need to have in order to be able to live the life that I say I want.
Yeah, that's true. So just going into your business, are you like the full owner of your financial consulting business?
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome. And how did you learn did you go through like another company at first before you branched off?
Yes. So what we are independent contractors. So I will have full ownership at 300,000. So I'm on my way. I'm a broker now. So we have an office. We have a shared office with other people within our team, our mentors. But yeah, it's been definitely a wild ride. Definitely a wild ride. I love what I do. Like I said, I tell people I get to save people's lives in a different way. Because we're not taught how to manage our money. We're not taught how to make our money work for us. And coming into this space, I came into this space just to make some additional income. I wanted to offset what I could do on my 4 days off. I was working 3 days. I had 4 days off. If I could make some extra money doing on 4 days, I'm making some extra money on those 4 days. That's not requiring so much of the strenuous work that I was going through as a nurse. We're on our feet for 12, 16 hours, sometimes not paying. Like, there's a lot of times that a lot of people in nursing, they don't necessarily talk about, but we go through a lot of stuff as a nurse, like you're dealing with family on top of medical and clinical stuff. Like, listen, and that's why I say this all the time. I love nurses, because y'all are anyone in the healthcare professional, y'all are my favorite clients because y'all have a heart for the people. And I know you work hard at whatever you do, whatever capacity that you're in, you know? So, but yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. I love what I do. Coming into this space, and I always, like I said, I've always been the type of person that I want to be able to pass down something to my son. I have a Black man in America that I'm raising. I don't want him to ever have to feel like he has to go and ask anyone for a job. You have a business right here that you can inherit, sir. Learn the game of money. And he does. Like, he's been reading Rich Dad Poor Dad since he was like, what, 9? Like, yeah. So like, and that's another thing. A lot of times people start businesses or people work so hard to accumulate wealth, but then they don't pass those lessons on to the next generation. So yes, it's great to make all this money while you're here, ball out, live your life. But if you're supposedly creating a legacy for your children, make sure they know how to manage that money too. And it's simple as just having them in the room, having a conversation about money. Listen, I got a budget this month. This is how much we need to do for groceries. I taught my son the envelope method. So he has envelopes that has 10% to invest in, 10% to his car, whatever you want it to be. So then that way you can know how to manage your money, you know? So just teaching your kids those things and making sure that I'm able to transfer the wealth onto him and he knows what to do with it at that point. It's so rewarding.
No, I love that. I was just speaking about this with some coworkers. They're like, how do you teach your kids about money without them, like, especially if we're doing business stuff and we are getting a specific type of money where we're being more well off than everyone? How do you teach your kids to not be like brats and be like, oh, my parents got it, so I'm going to get everything from it? I'm like, the wealth is also in the knowledge that you're going to teach them. Like, yeah, you might inherit a lot of money, but you're going to lose it just as fast as you got it if you don't understand how money works.
That's it. That's big. That's really big because learning how the game of money works is so essential. And there's literally so many different resources. We actually have a PDF that's specifically for kids that teaches them at every single level. So say you got a 4-year-old, you want to teach them to have an allowance or a piggy bank, something as simple as that. And every single age, it gives them a little bit more responsibility. So then that way they know, you know, but it's so important. It really is so important to teach your kids about money and just having those conversations, but making sure that they're not growing up as brats. Keep them humble, make them work for it. Like, you're not about to, okay, yes, I have it, but I worked for it. So what are you going to do to prove that you are worthy of doing what you need to do to inherit the wealth? You get what I'm saying? Like, of course, I'm not going to let you like be out there struggling or anything like that, but you need to put some sweat equity into it as well. You get what I'm saying? So, yep, definitely.
Yeah, that's such a it's so hard to do, though. I feel like I spoil them too much.
Yeah.
And they're so young.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard because I see a lot of times, like, especially nowadays, because kids have been exposed. Our generation, we still played outside. Like, these kids, they're exposed to literally the world is at their fingertips. You know, so they're seeing other kids have certain things and everything like that. And I get it, but do your best to protect them and keep them as humble as possible, and just, yes, spoil them, but to an extent. Like, I've always been like, yes, you can get anything you want, but you're still going to work for it, and you're still going to show a level of respect in order to be able to get the things that you want, you know? So
yeah, I love that. And then you were talking about like baby steps of getting your financial literacy. Do you do anything specific, like kind of like the Dave Ramsey method, like the snowball stuff, to originally get people out of debt? And then do you break out into your own type of thoughts when it comes to investing instead of like how he does it? Because I know a lot of people go right after the debt. They're like, I don't follow Dave Ramsey anymore because it's not the right information or not the correct information for that specific person.
Right. So, fun fact, Dave Ramsey actually started in the business that I'm in. He used to be a life insurance agent. So that's how he actually started his brand. But I do agree with a lot of what he says. If you don't know how to manage debt, how can you use it properly to benefit you? You're going to get right back in debt. You're going to do the same exact thing to get right back in the same situation. And then you will be asking everybody or working all these extra shifts. Nobody has time for that. Like, we're only here for a finite amount of time. Like, we're only here for a flicker. So what are you going to do with the time that you're here? You know, like I said before, trading your time for money. Like, if you continue to do that, you'll work until the day that you die. And unfortunately, it's sad to say that, but you see it so often. You know, you see so many people that are older that have to work at Walmart, or that have to work in these jobs that they didn't retire. They retired 10 years ago, but they have to go back to work now. And I get it, because this economy and everything else that's going on is crazy, but it's not up to anyone else's job to protect your family but you.
It's true.
You know, so putting those baby steps in place, I feel like they give you a lot of discipline that you need in order to be able to leverage debt, if you're going to leverage debt. I'll say that. So making sure you have $1,000 saved, bare minimum, bar none, because you need that. Car breaks down, something happens. Usually that covers, if you want to do two, then do two. And of course, he works up to having 6 months of money saved up. I feel like that's a great one too, especially if you want to become an entrepreneur. There's going to be times where it's going to be rough months that you need to make sure you got that cushion to offset your marketing budget, whatever you're doing for your business. Put that in place now, so then that way you can rock out and not have to feel like you have to be obligated to go back. Okay. And that's just for anybody in general. Say you were like, all right, listen, I need some time. I need a mental health break. I need to figure it out. You're on a break from travel nursing. That's a great time to make sure you have enough money saved up. Start that business, whatever that is. And then moving over towards making sure you have, I'm definitely with him on having a term life insurance policy in place. That's definitely we could do a whole nother webinar on that one, or podcast. I would definitely love to come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's so much misinformation about life insurance out there. Yeah. Term is usually cheaper. I'll just break that. Term is usually cheaper. It's for a specific term. Life insurance is only supposed to be used for you building wealth. It's to protect your assets in case of an emergency, something, God forbid, happens. That's it. People borrowing and doing all this extra stuff, you're going to get yourself into trouble. So don't, because a lot of times people don't read. You're not reading 96 pages of legal jargon. If you are, by all means, okay? And if you understand it, because a lot of times, a lot of those things are very confusing. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. Like a term life insurance policy, $300,000 or however much your coverage is that you need for your family. If you own a home, you need to make sure that's protected. What are you putting in place to protect your family? You know, and then starting with investing. Absolutely. Get whatever that looks like. It could be you could do a short-term account that's just a fund raising money for you to buy an investment property. It's better than leaving your money in a bank.
100%.
So because I know a lot of people are like, well, I need tangible, like I need to feel the asset, I need to walk in it, I need to do all the things. But great, do it, but put it in a vehicle that money is going to grow faster for you. So then that way you're not working as long to be able to buy that goal or buy that house or investment property that you want to buy. And then I definitely say start investing at least like 10% of whatever you make. If your job matches, only do up to what they match. Don't do more. If you're going to do more, go get an account, an IRA, Roth mutual fund outside of your employer. You can max out at your employer, great. But always have something outside of work. And then one more, make sure that you, a lot of times people, especially as nurses, we leave different employers and we forget about retirement funds that we have there. So I have, if anyone needs that information, I can send it to you. But yeah, you can literally Google it, say any retirement accounts out there in my name, or unclaimed funds, I think it is. And it's for every single state. Google it and see if you have some outstanding money laying out there for you. Because if that money is just sitting, they're not doing anything with it. put it in an investment account that's growing faster, so then that way that money is still working for you too.
No, I love that. Like I have a few like family members that moved from hospital to hospital to hospital, and they're like, I don't even know where my accounts are. I was like, you're crazy for not knowing where your money is.
Yeah.
Just sitting somewhere doing nothing when you say you want to buy a house, you say you want to do all these other things, but literally there's free money that should be growing for you, but it's not. So that is such a big gem that you just dropped right there.
Yep. So that's really the main ones. And it's like you wouldn't leave your car keys or your picture of your children at your old office that you left and packed up, right? So why you want to leave thousands of like literally $15,000, $50,000 people are just leaving there sitting. That's a down payment on a house, a couple of them at that. Like, or whatever you want to do, roll it over. So then that money is still working for you, you know? So.
That's true. I know we should probably do another episode on life insurance, but I do like talking about it. You said you don't like the people that do like borrowing and stuff against it. So those are like IULs and permanent life. So are you technically against it? Because I know for some policies you could use it to technically grow. I wouldn't say it's an investment, but
so that's the thing. A lot of those companies are getting sued now because of the deceptive sales practices that the agents have used. IUL policies, they mimic the stock market. They are not an investment vehicle. You have to be investment licensed in order to sell investment products, which I am, but you have to be investment licensed in order to be able to sell those products. Now, you can always ask that person. I would say if you're ever interviewing a financial advisor, ask them to pull up their FINRA, website and type in their name. If their name don't come up, then listen, I gotta go see somebody else. Because seriously, if you're literally trusting somebody with the most important thing that you have, like your ability to produce income, like your livelihood, you know. So you want to make sure that that person is doing right by you, and you can literally pull up if they have anything on their record at all, it'll pull up on that website as well. But yeah, definitely make sure that you're doing your due diligence when it comes to hiring a professional in this space, for sure.
Yeah, because that's big. So like I do have life insurance. My wife does, and we were actually thinking about giving our kids policies too, just to produce some sort of stability, just in case, God forbid, me or my wife pass. And I think you're right, because I've talked to a lot of agents before. The one that I ended up going with, that some people just seem super sketchy when it comes to like selling things. They're like, oh, I think you should get X amount of death benefit over the lower one that probably makes more sense for you budget wise and everything else. So again, is that one of the best ways, just looking up on like the FINRA just to see if they're actually someone?
Yep, absolutely. You can check on FINRA. If you can check on the Department of Insurance. You can literally search up someone's license to see if they are a legit person of who they say that they are. But like I said, a lot of those companies as of lately have been getting sued because of deceptive sales practices of what they are doing to people. They're telling people to cash out their retirement funds and put it all in policy. And if somebody telling you to do that, please run the other way and call the people on them. You could call the SEC, you can call anybody. I'm telling you, because that you're not supposed to do things like that. Like, you need to do things that are suitable for your client. A lot of times with those policies, the commission payout is more. So you're making they don't really they're already biased because they already know I'm about to make $1,500, $2,000, $20,000 from this one policy versus what you're going to do what's best for that person and that client.
Dang, that's really sketchy.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna find the book because I sent it to one of my teammates. But it talks about all of the do's and don'ts about life insurance, and it literally breaks it down very, 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 very easy read. But yeah, term is literally the best because keeping it for a specific amount of time until you build your wealth. That money should be invested in other producing assets. Your family is not going to care whether they have a page 4 of your life insurance policy or they have $2 million sitting in the bank. Which one are they going to rather? They want the money, you know? So you want to make sure that you have things in place in order to protect that. If you don't have $2 million readily available for you right now, that's why you need life insurance to protect your assets until you build your wealth. Once you build your wealth and you're financially independent, live your life. Live your
I
life.
love that. I love that, especially coming from agent broker like you. Like you know that a bigger commission could be from like a IUL or a whole life policy where you're saying, no, just go term. This is how it's going to be, and invest wisely this way instead of trying to get some quick money off people. Like that is awesome to see instead of people just trying to make this big crazy sales pitch. Like,
yeah,
whole life.
One more thing I'll say about this, as far as whole life and cash values, because they're called cash value life insurance policies. That's the IULs, the variable life, whole life. All of those fall under that. But with those types of policies, it takes about 2 to 4, even as long as 6 years for that money to actually start to accumulate. That they say that you can borrow from. If you don't have $30,000 to upfront that savings account, you don't have any money in there. You don't. It takes years. Like I had a baby. I'll say the baby food company. When I first got life insurance for my son, I had the baby food company because I want to make sure my baby's protected. That's what I needed to go do. My son is 16. That policy only had $1,000 accumulated in the cash value. I got it when he was a baby.
Oh wow.
$1,000. He's getting ready to go to college. What is he going to do with $1,000?
Wow.
When I could have, if I would have learned what I'm learning now, but hindsight is 2020. He's going to be able to be good now because of the steps that I'm taking and putting in place for him now. But if all that time you would have been paying and putting that money away, he could already have 50K, 60K, 100K already sitting in an investment account ready for him. To decide to do whatever you want to do with it. You want to go to college? Boom, there you go. There's your college fund. You want to start a business? You got that too. Travel? Okay.
Wow.
You know, so, but just no one knows things because life insurance was never taught to us. That's something that people don't talk to us about. They tell us, oh, yep, you gotta go get a whole life policy because that's the person that used to come to the door and everything like that. Like those policies are structured in a way to don't benefit the client. They benefit the insurance company and they benefit the person that's selling that policy.
Wow. So what are these steps that you're doing for your son to be better off in the future?
I charge him rent.
Ooh, dang.
Yeah. Yes, I charge him rent. And literally that's his savings account. Like that's a savings fund. I don't touch it. That's his, but he doesn't know that. Well, I mean, he'll know it now, but you get what I'm saying? Like that's for him to be able to learn that responsibility of at certain times I have bills and I have responsibilities to make sure that I have to take care of. And just exposing him to the environment. Your kids are sponges and they want to be around you. They love you. They want to learn from you. So don't keep money a secret. Like tell them about, listen, we got a budget for this. This is how much it costs to be able to go from here to here. You get what I'm saying? So just showing them different things like that. And he's now at the age where, like I said, he's 16. So he's ready to start working and driving and everything like that. So he helps me in my business as well. So he's my office manager. He'll make calls for me. He'll set up my CRM and my back office stuff. So just keeping your kids in the loop of what's going on, because I feel like a lot of times, at least within the African-American community, money was kept a secret instead of having those conversations. So then that way the next generation knows what to do different. So
I feel like that's culturally something similar. And since I'm Filipino, like money is just taboo to talk about. It just like, if someone's actually going to talk about money, it's more so going to be like, what did you buy recently to make you look like you're doing really well? If you have like the Mercedes, the BMW, like the Louis purse, the Rolex, anything like that, that's how you know, how you pretend to know that someone's doing well.
Yep. And that, I think somebody, oh my goodness, I forget who said it, but they said you're trying to keep up for people that you don't like, or paying things that you don't, for money, with money that you don't even have, for people that you don't even like. Like, why are you trying to keep up with all the Joneses? And it's literally on like 1,000 now with social media, because you seeing everybody with taking these lavish trips, and you like, I work a regular 9 to 5, like, well, not a regular 9 to 5, like I work a 9 to 5. How are these people able to live this type of life? Don't worry about them. Focus on your own paper. Because a lot of times they got debt, and you'll see in about 10, 15 years from now, they don't have nothing. You see what happened with a lot of celebrities or people that don't necessarily are taught proper financial literacy, and then they get a large amount of money and then they lose it all. I don't want to be one of those people. I'm not going to be one of those people. If you work so hard to accumulate your wealth, make sure you're doing as hard of a job to keep that money. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
It's true. So true. Because it's such a, like, we keep going back to it. So like the mindset of keeping money is so hard to, I guess, unlearn. And I guess it just keeps going back to being like, how do we, as, I guess, here on the podcast, I love talking about money, talking about personal finances. That is literally your business. How do you reach people to not scroll so much on Instagram, TikTok, and be jealous of pretend,
Right. Everybody is showing their highlight reel on social media. It's a highlight reel. No one is really showing their downs or their worst moments. And that's fine. That's the way social media is designed. It is what it is. That's the world that we live in. But you always got to check back in with yourself. Like, I came into this space to get free. I knew that the job that I was currently doing, that CEO was never going to pay me enough to live in the same neighborhoods that they live in. So I got to go get mine. So you already got yours. Your grandbabies are already set up. I need to make sure mine are set up the same way. So just knowing that and standing grounded in what you came here to do, don't worry about what's going on the sides of you, because that's their path. A lot of times your timing is your timing too. That's another thing I had to learn as an entrepreneur. We want things to happen right when we want them to happen. And a lot of times it may not be that. But as long as you continue to plant those seeds and nurture those seeds, something is going to come to fruition. Something is going to come to fruition from it. And if nothing else, you have a lesson. You learned what not to do. You know what I'm saying? To be able to pivot, to be able to make yourself better and your family's lives better. So definitely that.
So let me ask you a question. I love when I get asked for investing for your kids. What is your thought on investing for your kids versus investing for yourself?
So I say, if you can afford to do both, do both. Literally, I can start a 529 plan, which is a college savings plan, for as little as $25. That's $625 a week. You spend that more in McDonald's, Wawa, Starbucks, whatever. And I'm not counting nobody's money, but priorities. Make a little bit of a sacrifice. Do it for a month. See how you feel. May not go to Starbucks every single day. Go every 4 days. So you can put that money aside. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to necessarily cut back on the things that you love to do, but set yourself up so then that way you can make some things work. But the 529 plan, I would set up for children. If you know that your children are going to go to college, now they have this new thing where, and I don't know how long this going to last, so take advantage of it, y'all. But you can, once the 529, the funds are left in the account for a certain amount of time, it can then be rolled over to an IRA account.
Yep, the Roth IRA account. Yep.
So it depends on your state. Now, there's state-specific things. Certain states do certain things, but that's an option. You already setting your kids up. If you did, say you invested $100 per month since they were born, at 18 years, that's about $45,000 that they have invested. Let that money sit. You don't even have to put nothing else in there. You roll it over into an IRA account, that money can grow to $1 million. You're not putting another dime in it by the time they reach 59 and a half.
Amazing, right? Amazing. to even like think that all you have to do is put in a few bucks for 18 years and then they're going to be a millionaire just from that.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't have to take long. Like I said, if you wanted them to stop at 45, if you want to give them, or when they turn 18, you want to give them the 45K, that's still a nice, amazing nest egg too. Most people don't start off with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice nest egg too. Give them that. All right, go ahead, go figure life out. You know? So, and then if your children are working and they have actual income, you can do a custodial IRA account for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to have earned income. Now, here's the play with this. Make sure if you can hire your children in your business. That's earned income. Now, you do have to track it, so make sure you keep it tracked. Don't just be saying, "Oh, I paid."
I paid them.
Yeah, I paid somebody $10 last week and then $30, and like you got to keep track of it because it's earned income. But if you are a business owner, have them sweep the floors, have them post on your social media, have them greet people, have them take your pictures. Like all of those things are ways that you can include your children in your business, teach them about what it takes to be able to run a business, to learn about money, to be surrounded by you. You get what I'm saying? So teaching them that, and then as far as yourself, yeah, like I said, I say do both. If you can afford to do both, do both. Most importantly, start off with you, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, start off with you, of course. If you can only afford yourself right now, only afford yourself right now. That's fine. It's a start, but do the things necessary to put yourself in a better position for the future. You know? So
That's big because I forgot where I just heard it, where I think it was called like elder squatting. I saw it was like a random YouTube thing where it's like, oh, you never invested for yourself, but you gave everything, like invested for your kids so much, but now you're relying on your kids when it comes down to when you're retired to like live at their house and just be technically squatting at your kid's house. Just, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think of it that way. So it just reaffirmed that, yeah, I should always be investing for myself first. And if I have extra, then yes, I'll absolutely take care of my kids to an extent.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like you don't depend on your parents for 100% of your income anymore. So don't expect your kids to depend on 100% of your income anymore. Yes, at certain times you're going to have to let your children fall, or they're going to have to learn. They're going to have to stumble. They're going to have to learn from themselves throughout life as well. That keeps them humble too. But I've always been the type of person, like I never wanted my children to have to start over. I don't want my kids to have to get it out the mud like I did. Nobody showed me financial literacy. Yes, there were certain things in place, and I'm phenomenally grateful for the things that my parents put in place. But I want to do better. You're always supposed to do better than the last generation, right? Yeah. So just by doing those things they're a game changer. They really are a game changer.
Perfect. And like we're getting close to that hour here. So if anyone wanted to, well, if you had any advice for people that are trying to get out of debt and understand their numbers, what would you give them?
Start with a basic budget. Literally take your bank statement, and it's going to be painful, whatever. Let it be what it's going to be, and write out what you spent your money on last month. A big thing for me was food. I love food. Okay, I love it. But having a budget so then that way you can still enjoy the things that you like to enjoy and reward yourself for doing the things that you want to do can set yourself up monumentously. So that, and I would say it's never too late to get started with investing. Mm-hmm. It's never too late to get started with investing. Start now. Stop waiting for the market to go up, down, sideways, whatever you waiting on to do. Oh, I don't have enough. Go make enough. There's plenty of places that you can make money from, literally from your phone, from the comfort of your home, to use that money to fund your retirement. You get what I'm saying? So if you feel like you're not making enough, you have to increase your worth in the market. So do whatever you need to do. Learn a new skill. Pick up a new license. Do whatever you need to go do. Is any people making millions of money on social media. Like if just being themselves too, like literally, I'm like, wait, what, how? But literally find something that you're passionate about, do that, and then if that can turn into income, turn that into income for yourself. Yeah, it's never too late to get started investing. And then the last one I would say is always, always, always protect your income. Always protect your income, because that's literally the most important thing that you have. AT&T, Verizon, all of these major companies are not going to come and save your family. Yes, you want to pay your bills on time and you want to do what you need to go do. So definitely make sure you're doing that, but don't ever forget to make sure you have something in place to protect you, just in case if something, God forbid, happens.
Yep, that's huge. And if anyone wanted to reach out to you, get your services, how would they get in contact with you?
You guys can definitely reach out to me on social media. So financial free awaits. I can also give you guys my phone number, 215-929-2269. If you text that number, say you heard me on Brian's podcast, I'll give you guys a discount. Also on Facebook, Candice Brown.
Perfect.
Yep, Candice Brown. I'm also on TikTok too, financial free awaits. So anywhere you can fit in, I'll get back to you.
And I'll put that all in the show notes. And Candice, this was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to have you back on here because I love talking the life insurance stuff too.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to hang out with me on this.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Brian.
All right. Have a great one. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy your weekend.